So business process in Workday is nothing but a group of tasks, okay? A group of tasks combined together to flow in a way that we configure, okay? It's nothing but it is grouped in a sequence, and it will be executing in order as per the requirement. Let's say now you have hire business process. When we are hiring, since we have done a manual hiring without any kind of steps, we just the moment we click on OK, hire used to submit and the employee used to get hired into the system. But in general scenario, hiring will not be in a single step. There will be multiple aspects when you are hiring an employee. Okay, so when you're hiring full-time employee, what is a kind of one-time payment that we are giving to that, and what is a compensation that we are paying, and if the employee is of executive leadership team, is there any stocks that we are paying to that, and completely in compensation details that we'll be having. So we'll be assigning, if employee is a full-time employee, get this one-time payment. If employee is not full-time employee, there won't be one-time payment allowance. So all this kind of condition execution we'll be doing. So based on that, a step will be, let's say, HR administrator is there. HR administrator is the one who actually process HR data. Okay, so but the moment employee hire triggers in the system, okay, HR will be getting a notification that this employee is going to join on so and so date, propose a kind of compensation to this employee. So HR will be applying a compensation. What is the defined compensation for that employee? HR will be, let's say 10 lakhs would be the compensation. HR will be entering the compensation, and this compensation has to get approved by compensation administrator, okay, who actually manages the compensation part. So that guy will be getting a notification that approve this compensation. Once compensation part administrator approves that one, it will be going for manager, okay, manager to approve one more approval. So once the approval is made, there will be one more step, one-time payment, a kind of joining bonus or sign-on bonus, if there is applicable, that will be added to an employee. And once joining bonus is completed, stock, as per the employee job criteria, so stocks, employee is eligible to get stocks, okay, so we'll be granting some stocks to the employee. Once stock is completed, personal information change will be assigning to employee. Employee will be getting a notification that you're getting hired. These are the links. Through this link, you can update your personal information, kind of information that employee will be getting before joining or after joining. Okay, and finally, the security administrator will be getting Workday account creation step. Okay, and so the security administrator will be getting this employee is joining on so and so date. So Workday account needs to be created. So security administrator will be taking the required action. So you can see multiple tasks that are coming here. Okay, one is joining bonus, one is sign-on bonus, one is regular compensation, one is stock grants, personal information, and the Workday account. You can see multiple tasks are coming, right? These are grouped together and executed in a sequence that is nothing but a business process. The business process is nothing but a sequence of tasks executed in a way to actually complete the transactions in Workday. Okay, so if you see on my screen, this is nothing but create Workday account business process step. Okay, so this business process will be actually creating Workday accounts. So here we don't have any multiple steps here. So as per the requirement or as per the policy, if there are any kind of steps that we need to add, we can add to this create Workday account steps. Okay, so which will be actually executed in a sequence and complete this create Workday account transaction. So we will not be creating any new business process. We'll be using the one that Workday has provided. Okay, we cannot create new business process. We can copy the existing business process. We can use the one that Workday has provided, but we cannot create new business process right from the scratch. Okay. These are all the steps that you can add How many, we can give the order. Order is an important. Okay. So based on the order, your business process step will be executing. And these are the types actually. What type of actions this business process can be performed. Okay. One is action. Let's say if I give step B, action. Okay. You'll be getting the specification of that action. What would be that action? Okay, for this one, there is no action, and you can have an approval. The moment create Workday account gets initiated, an approval notification has to go for security administrator. Okay. Security administrator will be getting an approval notification, and the security administrator will be approving this one. And once the approval is made, Workday account will be created. And similarly, you can have approval chain. Okay. If there are multiple approvals, okay, if there are multiple approvals for your this thing, if there are multiple approvals, let's say security administrator is there. Security partner, and okay, here you can see multiple approvals are there. When you require an approval from multiple security groups, you can actually add approval chain. Okay, the difference between approval and approval chain: approval, you can have one security group, and in one security group you can see here the checkbox called all. Okay, so if the security group is assigned to 10 members, 10 security administrators are there. So for all those 10 members, we'll be assigning this security group. Okay, so once the security group assigned to the business process, if you see, if you check all, okay, all the 10 members has to take an action. Okay, all the 10 members has to approve this one, because we've selected all. Okay, everyone who is part of security group should be taking an action. If we uncheck this one, at least one person who is part of the security group should be taking an action. Okay, if they are not taking, the step will not complete. Okay, you can set due reminder here. Okay, you can set for 2 days or for 1 day also. You can send for 2 days. Defaultly, you can send a notification again to the member. Okay, that there is a task sitting in your inbox and you need to take an action. After due date, after 2 days is completed, automatically this notification will be going to whatever the security administrator is there, right? The people who are part of security administrator, by default, this approval notification will be going to the superior. Okay, the managers who are part of the security group, their managers will be getting a notification to take an approval. Okay, that's a kind of default behavior of Workday. If the member is not taking an action, automatically after the due date, it will be going to manager's inbox. Okay, that's a kind of default behavior we have. And approval chain is nothing but you can add multiple approvals here. And approval, you have an option that everyone has to take an action, or one in the security group will be feasible or will be okay to take an action.
Amit, if we click on all, will the mail trigger to all the security administrators, or it will trigger to only one?
It's not related to mail. Even if you uncheck, if you check, there is a notification that will be going to everyone who is part of security group.
Okay.
Okay. If you check this one, everyone has to take an action. The action in the sense, what is this? Approval is there, right? Everyone has to approve. Okay. Everyone who is part of the security group has to approve this one. If you're not checking this one, at least one person who is part of the security group has to approve. Then it will be going to further step. Whatever you will be adding C step here, it will be going to next step. If not, it will be holding there only. that step will not be completed. And you need to know the difference between approval chain, and consolidated approval. Okay, consolidated approval also is similar. You'll be getting an option here. Okay, for approval chain, you'll not get an option. Approval chain, you'll not get an option. For consolidated approval, if you are making multiple security groups, and if you need everyone in those security group has to take an action, you can select all. If you are selecting at least one person, okay, at least in one person in those security group. Now we have security partner and GA security partner, right? At least one person from these two security group has to approve this one, else it will not proceed. Okay, that is a consolidated approval. So mostly you'll be using approval only. Okay, you'll not go for consolidated or approval chain, because we'll be having security groups defined for each member, and you'll hardly go with an approval. And if you need one more an approval, you'll be adding one more approval as a kind of next sequence. Next sequence, you'll be adding one more approval step, and you'll be defining this respective security group here. Okay, so business process is nothing but which will be executing in a sequence as how you configure and complete this transaction. What is this transaction? Create Workday account transaction. Okay, so it completes the transaction in a sequence that you have configured and based on the security group that you have made. Okay, so that's completely a business process, and every task in Workday, every task that we perform in Workday, in the background, it is a business process. Okay, so create Workday account, we have a task actually. Okay, we have a task, and it's nothing but in the background, it is a business process. And create position is nothing but it's a task in front end. Okay, but in the background, it is a business process. Create position is a task here. Okay, we're able to create position with this task, and in the background we have create position business process. And similarly we have create Workday account. Okay, create Workday account also is a task, but Logan is not having that access. Create Workday account also is a task. Okay, but in the background, it is a business process. Okay, it is a business process. And similarly, create supervisory organization. What we have, we created supervisory organization, right? This is a task in the front end, but in the background, we have BP and update organization. We have business process called update organizations, through which your supervisory organizations will be getting created. Okay, and similarly hire. Okay, hire employee is a task actually. Okay, hire employee is a task. It's a task in front end. In the background, we have a business process called hire. Okay, so like that, there are many tasks that we typically use in day-to-day Workday transaction, and in the background, those transactions are nothing but business process, and which will be sequenced in a group that will be executing based on the security allocations that you have made. Okay, any questions so far? Anything unclear? Let me take different BP so that I can talk about specifications. This create Workday account does not have any specifications. Let me take any other business process. I'll take higher business process. because hire is the foremost business process that we have in Workday. I'm searching for the one that we created for hire. Okay. So this is the business process that we created for hiring an employee. And you can see a lot of steps, a lot of actions can be taken in hire business process. So mostly you'll be getting a chance to enhance the business process or add additional steps, make some conditions to the business process you'll be getting. And we'll be going with the activities, we'll be creating some of the additional steps to the existing business process. We'll be writing conditions, we'll be testing those conditions and all, and be performing. But before that, you need to understand the concept. Okay. So if you see hire, we have a lot of steps that we can take. Let's take action is there. You can see a lot of specifications here. Okay. So proposed compensation. Okay. This step is nothing but HR will be proposing compensation to the employee who's getting hired. Okay. So I'll be giving HR administrator. And this has to be in this order. Okay. If you are not giving order, system will not accept. Okay. The other thing is approval. So once action has been taken, HR administrator actions on proposed compensation step, approval step has to be triggered. For this, whatever compensation that HR is adding, the approval has to be triggered. So who will be taking? Someone for a compensation will be taking an action. Okay. I'll be adding compensation partner as a person. But when we are actually testing, we'll not be using all this. We'll create our own security group and do that because a lot of invalid security allocations are there. I'm just showing you the process of designing the business process. But when you're actually performing the activity, we'll not go with any of these security group. We will create our own security group and attach the security group here so that we'll not have any kind of roadblocks in actually approving the business process. And like this, you can build n number of steps that you wanted to have. Action and add probation period. Okay. If there is any probation period that we need to add for an employee, we'll be adding probation period. And who will be adding that one? We'll be taking HR is a person who will be adding probation period. And once the probation periods are added, they can take step E with another step. Action. create Workday account is a business process that can be added. Okay, I've shown you, right? There is one more, there is separate business process. If we add this one here, that business process will be triggering actually. Okay, so if there is any kind of ID information that needs to be entered, which can be entered. Every employee will be having government IDs, right? Those IDs can be entered in Workday and which can be managed accordingly. Just trying to add maintain employee contact. Okay, and one-time payment. If there is any kind of one-time payment, what is one-time payment? It can be sign-on bonus, it can be joining bonus, it can be some kind of allowance that we're paying as kind of one-time bonus that can be attached. Any kind of one-time bonus. If employee is eligible, that employee is getting one-time bonus, can add one-time bonus as a kind of step. Someone from security can take an action. So like this, you can add multiple steps as per organization requirements. Okay, you can add multiple steps, and when you add this one, higher business process will be executing as per the sequence that you have designed, and every person who is attached as a kind of person in a security group will be taking on the steps that are assigned. Okay, so I can say business process is nothing but which is group of tasks. When I say group of tasks, these are all the tasks. Okay, request one-time payment, add probation, propose compensation. These are all the tasks. We can group the task and have this executed through business process. And once the last step is completed, your hire will be completed and employee will be hired into the system. When we hired an employee, we didn't go through all these things. We just clicked on hire, submit. That's it. Okay. Entered employee name, contact information, submitted. Employee hired into the system because we did not had any kind of business process steps for those transactions that we made, because we just wanted to hire an employee. We don't want how to how business process executes, how to add steps and all. That was not the context that we are testing. We just hired an employee into our organization. But now, if you wanted to hire an employee through business process, these are all the steps that needs to be undergo and completed in order to hire an employee. Okay, this is one of the major area that you'll be getting in Workday, the business process. You'll be adding steps, you'll be taking actions, and you'll be making the business process to execute as per the steps that you'll be configuring. And there is another way for another purpose that you'll be using is you can attach integrations to the business process. Okay, if your business process wanted to trigger integration, let's say background check is there, right? Background check. If employee is getting hired, okay, into the organization, and there is an integration that will be built for background check, and which will be actually integrating candidate information to background check vendor. Okay, if that process has to be automated instead of manually running the integration and scheduling the integration, which has to be triggered through business process. Okay, you can attach integration here, and automatically the moment add probation period step completes, integration will be triggering. Okay, when you click on OK, with this system will ask you to provide integration name. Okay, and based on that name, your business process will be triggering the integration, and integration will be launching to send the data to external system, and from there your background check will be initiating. That also a kind of option that you can use for business process. So business process can trigger integrations, can run the reports, whatever you have here. You can attach a report also. If business process wanted to run a report, it can run the report, and it can also run multiple reports. Okay, we can group the reports into report groups, and we can run multiple reports in a single group. So your business process can do all these activities. So what you can say, if I ask what is a business process, what you'll say?
Sequence of events.
Executing sequence of tasks.
Okay, business process will be grouping the task, and it will be running in a sequence. Okay, and There is a little security also, that is security stuff also that is required for the business process. Here you are seeing the security groups, right? These security groups can be defined as per our requirement. For probation period, who has to take an action? Who is the person to be defined? By default, we are getting HR, but initially when we are actually creating the business process, we need to know, right, who should be the person for probation period, who should be the person for proposed compensation, who should be the person for create Workday account. Those will not directly come based on your defining, based on the way that you configure your security groups will be coming here. So how you will be defining that security is you, for each business process, you'll have, let me show the same example instead of going to another. I'll be canceling this. So every business process have security policies. Okay, this is nothing but a business process security policy. This is one of the area in the security, business process security policy, which allows who can perform the business process transaction. You can see here, right, business process policy. Click on edit in order to add the security to the business process policy. Since we have not added any steps, the security for this business process would be blank actually. Okay.
Amit, one question here.
Yeah.
In the business process which you created prior to this screen, if one of the security wherein all option is there, right, to the extreme right side. Now imagining if one of the security person is off for the day, will that get triggered to the Williams again, so that he can clear the approval?
As I said, right, there will be multiple persons in the security. Okay.
Okay.
So every person will be getting a notification. If one person is not available, the other people also will be getting a notification. Okay. In case only one person is there in that security group. Okay. In case only one person is there and that person is not available, and definitely that person will be getting a notification. And if that person is not taking an action, okay, we're setting a due date. Okay. After the due date, his manager will be getting a notification. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a kind of default behavior.
Okay.
That's kind of default behavior that automatically goes to that person's manager. But if there are multiple people who are part of that security, if other person is not available, a few more people will be there, right? They will be taking an action. Or the person who actually owns this transaction, it's a high risk there. Okay. Proposed compensation is a kind of step that is actually going to HR administrator. And HR administrator is not taking an action, though it is sitting in the inbox. So what HR will be doing? HR will be reaching out to HR administrator. Hey, this business process is sitting with you, and employee needs to hide in the system by end of today or by end of tomorrow, and you still did not complete this transaction. Kindly take an action on the business process. HR will be reaching out manually, or will be sending out an email. And based on that, HR administrator will be taking, and the step will be moving forward. And if that HR administrator is not available, okay, if that is not available, we also have option to reassign that to another one. Instead of manager, we have an option to assign to any other person who is in the defined authentication policy. We can assign that step to some other person and get the process completed. Okay, so that is what I'm trying to explain here. What are all the business process transaction are there? Who can take action on those things? You'll be defining it, business process security policy. Okay, if you see here, this is the default business process where a lot of security groups are attached here. So you can hire an employee. Who can hire an employee? Okay. So whatever security group that you are assigning here, those people associated with the security groups will be able to hire an employee. Okay. So you can see a lot of security, but in real time, you will not see this many. Since this is training tenant, you are seeing 300 security groups, but in general scenario, you'll hardly have 10 or 10 to 15. More than that, you'll not have. But since this is training tenant, so a lot of people will be creating security groups and will be attaching. But so you can see the transaction name here. Okay, what is action here? Hire employee. So who can perform hiring? Whatever security group that you are assigning here, and people who are associated with the security group can be initiating the task. And if the person who is not having an access and trying to actually initiate the transaction, they will be not able to even access the task called hire employee. There is a task called hire employee, right? They'll be at least not able to access this task because they are not listed in the security group here. Whoever are listed in the security group will be able to access this task hire employee and initiate the hire business process transaction. And similarly, hire web service. Okay, hire web service is nothing but automating. Okay, if there are 50 to 100 hires that we need to process, if we are acquiring a company and there are 100 employees that we need to hire under our company, so you cannot sit and process 100 employees manually, right? So you can automate that hiring process through one of the integration. And who can perform that integration? Who can actually automate that process? Whatever security group that you will be defining, that security group will be having access to automate or load hires into Workday. So there is nothing but web service. Okay, web service is nothing but which allows the data to get into Workday. Okay, to hire an employee into Workday, hire web service has to be a kind of system that allows to hire an employee into Workday. And who will be able to hire employee automatically through integration? What are all the security group that you are mentioning here? Those people will be getting access to perform or create integration for hire an employee. And similarly, we have a lot of other tasks. Okay. So whatever security group that you will be giving, those people will be actually taking. Okay, you can see here, ad hoc employee status, academic affiliate. Okay. So adding employee to any kind of the affiliation. So we have a configuration called academic affiliation. This is completely based on requirement. If organization is actually maintaining academic affiliation, we'll be adding the security. If not, we'll be leaving it blank. Okay. If it is a hire, we have a student module actually. If you're hiring student, you'll be initiating the hire student business process. Okay, so these security groups will be having these things. So some of the universities are using Workday as their HR system. Other than organizations, universities also will be using Workday as their system. Okay, and when the student is getting hired, they'll be using Workday as their internal system to actually hire student actually.
So I think this can be basically used for the candidates who do their project works, right?
No, not a project work. Okay. So
No, like
most of the universities who are actually providing academic counseling or academic kind of activities to to candidates. Let's say we have a university called Cornella. Cornella is one of the Workday the Workday student the subscription. It is using Workday student module to actually manage all the student transactions in Workday. Okay, so as how employee transactions are tracked in Workday, similarly student transactions will be tracked. Once student is actually hide or admission in Workday is a kind of tool that will be processing the admission. Okay, so once the admission is done, now what are all the regular transactions the student will be undergoing, as how employee will be undergoing, right? So all those transactions will be performed in Workday, and in order to actually perform those student hiring, so there is a business process called hire student, and whatever security groups that you will be giving here, that will be processing student hiring. Okay, and there are a lot of other transactions related to students, like project management and course management. A lot of business process are there. So so those will be running for students actually, but we'll not be looking at students, since we'll be focused on our employee life cycle business process. We will not be touching this one. In actual scenario, it will not be, it will be blank actually. There will be reassign and approval steps. Review employee head and view proposed employee ID, assign worker record. A lot of steps are there. Okay, and person who needs to have access to view all the business process steps, you will be giving view all kind of security group, so that that person who are associated with the security groups can be viewing all the business process steps and view only completed. Okay, so whatever the steps, whatever the business process that is completed, only to view that completed step will be giving that access. And similarly, approve, who has to take an approval. Okay, so let's say proposed compensation is there. Okay, proposed compensation approval has to be taken care by compensation administrator. So we'll be adding all the compensation related details here. So whatever security group that you are adding, you will be getting in the business process. If you are seeing that compensation partner has to approve this one, but I'm not getting compensation partner, I'm getting a compensation administrator only, I need to have a compensation partner. Okay, in order to have that, what you need to do, you need to come here, assign compensation partner, and see when compensation partner will begin. So whatever security that you wanted to pay, you wanted to have to perform the transaction, those security groups will be added for each of the activity here. Okay, and similarly, if you want to reassign this business process to any other person, cancel. Okay, who has to have access to cancel this business process? Okay, whatever security group that you'll be giving, that will get permissions to cancel the business process. Okay, so for some reason, there are a lot of mistakes that are performed in the business process. So you wanted to cancel and re-trigger the business process. So people who are associated with the security group will be having cancel permissions, who can cancel the business process and re-trigger this again. Resign. Resign is nothing but send back. Okay, send back which is not required, or which is no longer needed. Okay, so for the transactions that are no longer needed, we'll be sending back to whoever has initiated this transaction. You'll be sending this one. Okay, so which is not required. Okay, for steps that are not required, you'll be sending back. And there is something called reassign. Okay, if employee is on leave. Okay, if employee is in leave, request reassignment, reassign task are there, right? If HR administrator is on leave, and instead of HR administrator, we wanted to assign to hiring manager. Hiring manager, we wanted to assign the steps to hiring manager. And who has to reassign this one? People who are associated with the security group here will be getting access to reassign this task from HR administrator to hiring manager, so that hiring manager will be taking an action and complete the task as per the timelines. Okay, so whatever security that you will be getting here, those people will be getting access to reassign this task. And similarly, correct this business process. There is any kind of mistakes that are happened and needs to be updated or corrected. So every business process will have a step called correct. Based on the security that you will be giving here, those security groups will be getting access to correct the business process. Okay. So that this is how you will be defining the security for the business process. Okay. So however you define the security, those security groups will be getting permissions to actually take or initiate or control the transaction. Okay. And based on the security that you will be defining here, you will be getting those security groups when you're adding steps and groups. Okay. So business process security policy is nothing but which defines who performs the business process transactions. What are the business process transactions? Initiate is one thing. Okay. Initiating the transaction is one thing. Approving the transaction is one thing. Okay. And canceling is one thing. Reassigning the transaction is one thing. Okay. And resigned is one thing. Canceling is one thing. Okay. These are all the business process. Whatever we have seen here, initiation, cancel, correct is one thing, reassign is one thing, approve is one thing. These are all the business process transactions. So whoever wanted to perform these transactions, you will be defining in the business process security policy. So this is something related to security, and this is one of the policy in Workday in security area for business process. We have two policies, security policies in Workday. One is business process security policy. So when someone asks you, what does business process security policy does? You need to explain. It actually takes care of business process transactions. It gives controls to the security group who can perform the business process transactions. What are the business process transactions? Initiation, approval, resign, reassign, correction, cancel, approve. All these are business process transactions. Person who will be performing these actions are under business process security policy. Okay.
Amit, I have one question pertaining to the correct. If most of the process is automated, then what is the need for correct?
Let's say hire is there. Okay. Hire employee is there. Okay. Employee is getting hired on 28, and you have triggered the business process and hire has completed. But on the last day, that employee will be reaching out, hey, I have personal emergency. I'll be not able to join on 28th. Probably I'll be joining on 2nd or 3rd of November.
Okay.
So what you will be doing? You'll be correcting the business process. You'll be correcting the business process by changing hire date from 28th to 3rd of November, so that the hire date will be changed. If you keep that, your hire date will be wrong, right? If employee is getting hired on 3rd of November, but your system is showing 28th, which is not right? It leads to compliance. Okay.
Yes,
so
it needs to compliance and unnecessary payment has to go.
So you'll be correcting the business process by changing the hire date from this one to this one. So such kind of corrections are required. You'll be correcting the business process, and who will be having access to correct the business process based on the security
group
signing here. Those people will be getting access to control the correction part. Similarly, all other transactions. Okay.
Got it.
So basically, security policy is nothing but which controls the business process. Whatever security that you will be defining, that will be controlling, and you will be adding the steps to the defined security groups. Okay. So it is easy, concept is easy, but you need to know how to actually handle the business process steps and how to handle the security part. Okay. You will be getting completely a kind of, if you're building the, if you're implementing Workday right from the scratch, you will be getting, if implementation partner is implementing, so implementation partner will be having a checklist. Okay. What are all the business process that customer is actually needing, and the implementation partner will be preparing all the business process as per the Workday defined business process, and they'll be defining the security requirements will be given by business to implementation partner, and they'll be giving. And if you are actually joining any customer who is already live, and if they wanted to enhance the business process, you'll be editing the business process, and you'll be adding the different steps with the different security, and you can add different security groups. Everything, you'll be getting a chance to enhance the existing business process. And if you wanted to add any conditions to the business process, okay, if it has to execute based on the conditions, okay, every business process step will have an option to write conditions here. Create condition rule based on conditions. The step will be executing. Okay, let's say one-time payment is there. Okay, one-time payment will generally offer for full-time employees, not for part-time employees, not for contractors. So you'll be writing a kind of condition here for assuming that this is a one-time payment step. You'll be writing if employee type is full-time, if employee type is full-time, if employee time type is full-time, or worker type is an employee, then only trigger this step. If it is contractor, one-time payment step will not trigger, because you're writing a condition here. You're specifying a condition that one-time payment should go for only full-time employee, not for part-time employee. That kind of condition you will be writing. So when this step comes to the execution, this will be looking for the condition based on the condition that you are writing, and it will be executed according to the condition. So we'll be writing conditional business process steps also. But before that, you need to know what business process does and what is the usage of the business process. Okay, so now conceptually you're clear on the business process. How does it work? Can anyone explain the complete the definition of the business process and how it actually manages with the security? How does business process execute? And what is a business process actually?
Business process
Sequence of tasks to perform activities and to complete the transactions. There are separate different types of approvals, approval chain, consolidated approval, in order to perform any activity. It is a sequence of events. For example, we have to identify what are the steps which we follow in the business. So based on that, we have to categorize the order.
Okay. So how security for the business process? How security can be defined?
Who can perform action? Group of people who can perform action on the particular action item. For example, approval, one person, group of people who can approve it. One-time payment, who can approve it, like hiring manager or recruiter, or
okay. So security is nothing. Whatever you configure in the security policy for each transaction will be giving option to take that business process transaction action for those security groups. So these two are very important. Okay, without business process security policy, your business process will not be proceeding further. So you need to define the security policy who has to take an action, and accordingly that will be providing relevant access to those security groups. And if you see my screen, there is a create business process definition task, okay, which actually allows you to create the business process. When I say create, it's not that you'll be creating the business process on your own. The whatever Workday has provided, you will be picking that business process here. Okay. So whatever business Workday has provided, all those business process will be available. If you wanted to create, let's say higher business process is not created. Okay, you're going live with the Workday, and you wanted to actually create the business process. So here you'll be creating business process. Hire, since already created, hire is already created, will not be getting hire, but you'll be using hire business process. You'll be getting hire business process and click on OK. Hire business process will be created like this, and then you need to add the steps and conditions, security groups you can add accordingly. So in this way only you can actually pick the business process that Workday has put, but you cannot create other than what are listed here. You need to use whatever Workday has provided in this list, and according to that you can actually create the business process. Okay, so these are all the unused business process transactions in this tenant. So whatever are currently used, you'll not be able to get them because those are already created in the system. Create position. Okay, create position is already created. You'll not get that here because that is already created in the system. Okay, job requisition is already created, I think. So you'll not be, whatever that are created already, you'll not be getting. These are all currently not created, which are not created in this tenant. Okay, so when you're actually building the business process from the scratch, you'll go to this task, pick the business process, click on OK, and then add the steps, assign the security, and have this executed as per the business requirement. That's how your business process will work. Okay, we'll be taking a lot of business process for testing. One is hiring business process, which we have added multiple steps, right? We'll be adding and we'll be hiring an employee, and we'll be seeing that employee will be undergoing all those steps as how we configure. Hire will be doing, we'll be creating positions, we'll be adding some approvals, and we'll be adding some conditions to the business process and see how those execute. We'll take hire, we'll take move workers, moving employee from one organization to other organizations. So we'll be taking 4 to 5 use cases, and we'll be testing those business process, and so that you guys will be clear how it works actually.
Amit, in case of the new business process type is required, whom to approach for in such cases?
Generally, every functional, functional people will be getting access to actually have this task. Okay, every functional people will be getting access, and obviously, people will be getting access to perform this task. But you'll be getting a request from the specific stakeholder that we need to have that business process created, and as per the steps that it has to be executed, they'll be giving you a kind of flow, and according to that flow, you'll be configuring the business process. Okay, who has to take action on what? Let's say approval is there. Approval should be taken by this group. Approval, action should be taken by this group. All those things you'll be getting from business, and based on that request, you'll be configuring the business process.
So Amit, for example, I'm working in a recruitment. So there are multiple teams are involved in working in the recruitment. Scratch from the scheduling to hire employee or onboarding to everything. So all the team have a different. I mean not different, but there is a sequence of business. They have a follow the steps what they have to do in their process. So all the steps I have to configure in this workday so that people can use a same tool for hiring the employee, because we are using multiple tools for hiring an employee. For example, scheduling and till offer release, we use our internal tool. After that, once the candidate is onboarded, once their salary is updated, or there any compensation and benefits related, the SAP tool is using. So there are multiple tools involved in the hiring only. So
no, it's not hiring actually. So whatever you are referring, recruiting activities will be performed in another system, and employee has to hire in the system. Once the recruiting activities are completed, employee offer is generated, and that employee needs to get hired into the system. Okay, so in that scenario, all the recruiting activities going in another system, right? So your hire business process will not trigger automatically. We have a business process called job application. Okay, job application will be taking care of all the recruiting activities like interview, assessment, background check, offer, ready to hire. These are all the steps that your job application will be doing. Once ready to offer, ready to hire step triggers, that candidate will be hired into the system. The process will start. Hiring process will start. And since all these activities are not performing, and those activities are performed in another system, it's SAP. Okay. Now the employee needs to get hired into Workday. In that scenario, your automation will not work. Okay, your hire will not work because all the activities are performed outside of the system. Now Workday will not understand where the candidate is sitting in now. Okay, whether the candidate has completed all the recruiting activities, Workday will not understand. So what you can do is, if your other system has got all the recruiting related activities, you need to actually load those employees into Workday through integration. Okay, so there will be an integration that will be actually processing all these employees. For these employees, you will not be having any kind of these things, compensation and all, you will be defining in that integration only. Integration will be assigning this compensation, because the business process, whatever hire I was referring, that will be triggered based on job application. Okay, once the candidate has completed all the recruiting related activities, the last step in the job application is ready to hire. Okay, so once the step triggers, that step will be triggering hire business process, and from there hire will be automatically happening. But here in the case that you have said, this will be not happening. So this will be happening in a different system, right? In that scenario, you have an integration to hire, let's say 3 employees are completed with all the recruiting activities in SAP system. Now you wanted to hire those 3 employees into Workday, since Workday is a kind of HR system that you will be maintaining in future. Okay, so now you need to actually load those 3 employees either through integration or perform a manual hiring for those 3 employees. But it not have automation for those 3 employees, because it is not a kind of connected to job application business process. Make sense?
Yeah, right. So can we use this scheduling part also in this work?
Business process cannot be scheduled. Business process will be triggered based on a transaction. Okay, so the moment the recruiter moves the candidate from interview to hiring, okay, your business process will be triggering. Okay, if a recruiter is moving candidate from interview to assessment to background check, and background check to offer stage, and offer stage to ready to hire, from there your business process will auto trigger based on the transaction. Your business process will be triggering. Business process cannot be scheduled. It happens with the transaction, right? When there is an employee to get hired and the transaction is actually initiated, then your business process will be executed. Integrations will be scheduled, reports will be scheduled, but business process cannot be scheduled. Okay, any questions? Any other questions anyone have? So we'll be doing some use cases in business process. So hire, you know how it works. So we'll be performing first hiring only, since you are well aware of hiring. You have seen how hiring works in the system. So we'll be adding some steps to the hire business process, and we'll see how it works. And similarly, we'll take few more business process, add steps, add conditions, add security, all those things that we'll be doing, and we'll be testing the business process. Okay. Good. That's all I'll be having for today on the business process, and probably when we connect again, so we'll take some use cases of the business process and try to perform activities on those.